My name is Dr. Wendy Gradwell. I've been the co-director of cable this year with Dr. Smith. Good to see him. He's been on sabbatical for the semester, so I've had the pleasure of working with these lovely young women and men for the past year and specifically this semester. And so they're going to give you kind of a wrap-up of what the cable experience has been like for them, and I think you'll be pleased with what they have to share. So without further ado, I'll turn it over to the cable.
So hello and welcome to our presentation of our final portfolio. As you see, my name is Kelsey Clare.
I'm Allie Hermes.
I'm Megan Pankiewicz.
Jess Stankovic.
Ana Paula Vega.
I'm Gabby Bell.
I'm Hannah Yalas.
I'm Grace Monahan. Victoria Perla.
Muriel Wheaton.
And I'm Michael Norby.
And we are the 2014 Communication and Business Leadership Experience Group. So today you all are acting as our future employers, and we are going to present to you how cable students have a leg up on our competition. Also, before we start, please silence any cell phones. Oh no, it's on the wrong side. Sorry about that.
To whom it may concern, in the fall of our junior year at Wittenberg University, we learned of a valuable leadership opportunity, cable. As individuals, we applied, interviewed, and were accepted to be members of the 2014 Communication and Business Leadership Experience, where we became a unified team. Graduating this program, we are better prepared for the professional world as we have applied our classroom knowledge to various professional settings.
Sincerely.
Throughout the past year in cable, we've participated in several activities. We did our onboarding at the Proctor Center. Our classroom training included various guest speakers on topics like professional development. We did job shadowing at Will PR, Tech Systems, Nationwide, the Cincinnati Bengals, and Gordon Food Service. And we had experiential training at the Wittenberg University Cincinnati Alumni Chapter, iTech Entertainment, and Special Olympics Board.
So our onboarding process took place for the first time ever through the cable program at the Proctor Center. And that is located in London, Ohio, and we participated in the ESCAPE program. And that was designed to promote group communication, teamwork, and leadership skills. And we participated in both indoor and outdoor activities that helped us get to know each other, as well as challenged our trust, such as the mousetrap activity, where we had to have our hands on a mousetrap and trust each other to let go at the same time so that our fingers didn't get snapped. So from the beginning of this program, we really learned to trust each other, and that kind of set the tone for the rest of our cable program.
So throughout our experience, we had different people come in to talk with us and give us their knowledge of the professional world. We had many guest speakers. A couple of them were from Wittenberg. We had Dr. Brose come in, and she talked to us about professional dress and how to dress for the real world as a professional. We had Ross Roding. We had a Skype conversation with him. He was our first person, like our first contact for our case study. So we talked to him about what he wanted from us. And then we also talked to Dr. Cunningham, and she taught us the ins and outs of interviewing and what to do and what you shouldn't do. We also talked to Wendy Smisek, and we took personality tests with her. So we got to learn about our fellow cable members and how we would be able to work together with our different personalities. And then we also talked to Dr. Gradwell, and she gave us an organizational culture lesson on Southwest. So we learned about organizational culture with that.
So along with our classroom training, we also learned different skills such as teamwork. And Coach Jay, the head women's basketball coach, came in and talked to us. And she just taught us about how to work well as a team, because cable really is one big group project. So we have to really know how to listen to each other and get each other's feedback. And so she really helped us with our teamwork skills. We also learned about leadership, and we had the honor of meeting with President Lori Joyner, who's the president of Wittenberg University, and she talked about her journey, how she got to where she is, and just taking risks in your professional journey and not being afraid to go for what you want, and a lot of just leadership knowledge that she shared with us. Another professor or person who came to talk to us was Dr. Wilson, who is the Associate Professor of Business, and she came to talk to us about finance. And it's kind of a looming thing, us being seniors and having to now deal with our own finances once we graduate, but she kind of broke it down for us and made it kind of edible chunks of where we can really kind of grasp what we need to do in the future. And we also learned about persistence and drive. We were able to meet with a few members from the Springfield community, well not community, but government, including Jim Bodenmiller, who is the city manager. And he talked a lot about really going for what you want and networking and not being afraid to be persistent and be driven in what you want and really go for all the things you have in mind for your future. So we took a lot away from all those classroom experiences, and we're really grateful for everyone who came and shared their knowledge with us.
So we had many site visits throughout the semester, and essentially through these site visits we were able to job shadow in different industries. So our first site visit was Wilt PR in downtown Springfield, and Wilt is a small PR company that involves the biosciences, so like agriculture, health, wellness, energy. And when we were there, we met with Maureen Buchan, who is a class of 2009 graduate. We also met with an account executive, the chief operating officer, and the creative director. So when we first got there, they gave us a tour of the office. We really liked it because it was really modern. It kind of looked like a loft. It was really quaint. It was very open, which allowed them for communication. And also then we got to sit in on a panel. So the employees came and talked to us. We got to ask them questions one-on-one. They told us about like the day-to-day activities, what public relations really is, and how they got to their career path where they were.
So you probably are all familiar with the tagline, "Nationwide is on your side." Nationwide is on your side. And we were fortunate enough to go to the headquarters of Nationwide in Columbus. They have around 10,000 employees and 4 skyscrapers in downtown Columbus. And Nationwide was the biggest company that we ever visited during our field trips in the entire year doing cable. So it was really amazing to see Nationwide. We were greeted by Brandon White, grad of 2008, and David Basil of 2005, and they talked to us about like their multiple different roles in finance and marketing and human resources. We got a tour around Nationwide, and it's literally like a city inside the company itself. They have 4-story tall palm tree inside the building. They have multiple cafeteria, gym with yoga classes, and dry cleaning services. So what we got out of the trip was that even though like really big companies, your roles are highly specific, and you probably don't really have a lot of interaction with your coworkers. You cannot know all 10,000 employees, let alone 300,000 employees that Nationwide has all across the country. But you got a lot of perks. You got a lot of discounts from the Blue Jacket ticket to hotel, and a lot of smaller companies meet you for their revenue.
When we were in Columbus, we also had the pleasure of visiting Tech Systems, which is an IT professional recruiting and management firm. There we met with Megan Ween, who graduated from Wittenberg in the class of 2010. Last year, Cable had a member who works there currently, which is also really cool. At Tech Systems, we had a panel of many different employees who did a lot of different things for the company, but I think the most important thing we took away from Tech Systems was the importance of finding a company whose organizational culture really fits well with your personality. And then we also talked a lot about maintaining professional relationships, both inside your company and outside of your company. Tech Systems works a lot with recruiting, so it's really important to maintain good relationships for networking and other various professional settings. When we were in Columbus, we also had the pleasure of going to Dr. Rose's house for dinner, and we learned mostly that she's a fantastic cook, that her and her husband are incredible hosts. And I think we also learned that it's really important for us to spend time together outside of our work and our projects so that we can get to know each other and enjoy the things we do on our projects. And we're very grateful for that. We all remember it.
So the next place we went was the Cincinnati Bengals Stadium, where we met with Wittenberg alum Brian Holmes, who's the senior corporate sales manager of the Bengals organization, as well as other sales representatives. they actually held a financial and marketing panel for us where we got to just sit down and ask them questions. And what we essentially learned was that their job is not just to sell tickets, it's to sell the experience of the game, to sell the experience of going to a Cincinnati Bengals game. And it was so cool to just get in their minds of how to sell tickets, how to market to their audience, and it was very informative for us. We even got to take a little tour of the Cincinnati Bengals. We got to go in the locker rooms, we got to go in the weight rooms, got to go actually on the field, in the press box. It was a great experience and a very informative one as well.
And then our last, excuse me, and then our last site visit was to Gordon Food Service, which is a local corporation in Springfield. We did this just less than a month ago. And while we were there, we met with Kathleen White, who's a graduate of 09. While we were there, we had a great breakfast, by the way. Since it is a food service, they did supply some nice breakfast. So yeah, it's good. We enjoyed that. But we got to sit down with Kathleen. She went through a PowerPoint presentation and kind of gave us some company background. Talked to us about the process of how they get the food from their supplier to Gordon Food Service and then to their distributors. We found out they actually supply food for Chipotle, which is very interesting. And then we also found out they're the largest food distributor in North America, and they are rising, and continue to grow. And then we're also one of the employees there, I don't remember his name, but he did take us through a facility tour, and it was just really cool to see the various food departments in Gordon Food Service, as well as see the machinery and the everyday action that it goes through. And then last we kind of came back, and then we had talked to a panel from various departments throughout the company, so not just guys from just one department, and guys and girls, and got to talk to them about their career paths, where they started, how they got to the position they are now. And it was some takeaways we got from them was what you do in your career may have little or no relation to what you studied or what you majored or minored in college, but that is okay, because businesses today provide you with training programs, and it really comes down to how hard is your work ethic. And also what we took away was that in your resumes, it's important to take the time to tailor them specifically to what job you want. So take the time to take things out of your resume. Don't just have one general resume. Have a couple that are ready for different positions that you may want.
Okay, so now we're going to talk about our experiential training, and the few things that we did. We worked with the Wittenberg University Cincinnati Alumni Chapter. That was our first case study. Then we visited Orlando, Florida, where we split into two groups, and the two groups covered iTech Entertainment and Special Olympics sports. So now we're going to talk about those.
So the first case study was the Cincinnati Alumni Chapter, where we got to work with Wittenberg alum Ross Roding. He was a personal friend of mine, so it was wonderful to work for him. And what we had to do was more participation from their alumni, especially their older alumni that could give better donations, that had more financially sound, homes. And we had to change a lot for them. We had to create a survey, which was also a learning experience for us about what do their alumni want, to have for events, how do we market to them. We also had to make a new social media plan. We had to change their image. We had to make them know that you have to be more professional. You have to show a more family-friendly environment for everything. We also renamed it to the Wittenberg University Cincinnati Alumni Chapter because they were very hard to find on Facebook, on Twitter, on social media, and that's probably something you don't want to happen when you need donations from alumni. It probably should be easy to find. And it was a very eye-opening experience for us because it was our first case study. We learned a lot, and it was a great experience for all of us to have.
So to introduce our Florida case study, which was the last case study we did, it's just important to know that everything up to this point was to prepare us for this experience. So we were learning from in-class assignments to actual site visits to our internships and our other case study, how to create a personal persona and just present ourselves in a more professional way. So everything was really a build-up to Florida, and what we did was we had two companies that gave us a task to complete. So we split the group in two by nominating individuals based on their specific interests and strengths that they had. But while we were in Florida, it wasn't all business. We were able to enjoy some of the sunshine and things like that. We were able to go to Universal City Walk on the first night and eat a wonderful dinner at Jimmy Buffett's Margaritaville. And we had a little team bonding and dancing while we were there. The next day was a day of relaxation. Some of us went to Cocoa Beach, which was really awesome. And we also had the opportunity to go to Give Kids the World, which is a counterpart of Special Wish, which allows children with illnesses to experience a week of normalcy with their families and be away from doctors and things like that. So that was very rewarding for us. And we were also able to go to a gallery opening at a museum in Orlando, which was interesting to see a new culture and to experience art in a different way. So I'm going to show you a video now that I made so you can have a glimpse into our cable trip.
Like a shooting star across the sky. You and I, we can fly. Memories won't die. There'll be no goodbyes for you and I. You and me will always be together. We will always.
So we would also like to thank Dr. Bodie. He was, oh, he just left. Okay, Dr. Bodie accompanied us on the trip, as well as Dr. Gradwell, and Karen Reynolds, the former Career Services Director, showed us around Florida and just helped us out making our way through the city and things like that.
Okay, so for iTech Corporation, which is a theme park design company, our team was asked to think of ways to help attract future hires they might want to hire, and to more specifically focus on millennials as well. And so we came up with a social media plan like we did with the Cincinnati chapter, and we also came up with a few different internal processes for hiring, for training, and for onboarding as well to help with retention and to help attract some future potential employees. And I think for us, what we learned from that is, again, like we said earlier, definitely the organizational culture is very important. We saw that with this because they were definitely fun to be around and to be at that company. And we also learned how to work as a team better and how to organize, our schedules and how to deal with other personality traits as well.
Okay, so the Special Olympics Florida team, which was composed by Kelsey, Allie, Megan, and myself, we were working for Special Olympics Florida, and as soon as we got our task, we took it upon ourselves to start right away in order to gather the most amount of information possible. So we called our contacts within their team, Matt and Danielle, and we learned that what they wanted was to better understand millennials' donating habits on and offline in order to increase the amount of donations they receive from this generation. So we created a survey that we sent out to Wittenberg University, Florida Institute of Technology, and Barry University. And meanwhile, we also did some research with some scholarly articles that ended up backing up the results from our survey. During our presentation to the Special Olympics Florida team,
We also proposed some recommendations on how to increase the amount of donations they receive from millennials. And we did that by proposing a social media campaign, some ideas on mobile apps, and also some other ideas on how to tap into local universities. For us, I think that what we took away from this experience was that you need to adapt to your team members, and if someone doesn't want to meet at a certain time, if they have some preferences, then the whole team's going to come together in a team effort in order to find another time to meet. We also learned that not procrastinating, setting deadlines, and setting goals for every single meeting is really important.
Okay, so along with cable, we have to have a mandatory internship during the summer. And I'm going to start in the top right, and we're going to go clockwise based on logos. So I worked for Tina Pavlonis, who owns a local chocolate company. It's called Visual Anatomy Limited, and I'll explain that. So Tina was a medical illustrationist and decided that it would be a great idea to turn these medical illustrations into chocolate. So these are purely educational, and they're being sold at gift shops and hospitals and local stores around town. So this is actually one of the promotional photos that I took for Tina, and that was one of my tasks for her, was to create some photos that she could use for her website as well on social media. I also started her Instagram, and I made a lot of the chocolates. So that was such a cool learning experience for me, and I got the internship based off of networking, so I think it just is proof that everything we've been taught led me to getting a job. So I was giving a speech at my high school, and my former English professor came up and started talking to me, asking me my summer plans, and I told her I was looking for an internship, and she said, I know someone who's looking for a summer intern, here's her number. I called her up, I got an interview, and ended up getting the job. And I learned a lot from this. I have always thought about owning my own photography business, so it was a way to look at a small company and actually work specifically with the owner and see the challenges that she had with owning her company. I was also able to learn how to speak for a company. I know personally that I have a strong speaking voice and a strong writing voice, so everything that I was doing had to be specified to this company and to promote what they believed in, and that was something that I really had to learn. So that was my experience. It was awesome.
I worked at an oral surgery headquarters in Michigan called Michigan OMS, and I got that job, interestingly, by just faxing my resume to the company. Just didn't know if they needed help, didn't know if they would see it, but luck had my side, and they needed me, and I started right away. So at Michigan OMS, I was responsible for creating new patient charts. This was something I'd never really done before. It's a surgery headquarters, so pretty important information was going into those files. I had everything from all of their personal information to every last detail about both their dental and medical insurance policy, as well as any information on the procedure they were coming in for. And then from there, I was responsible for calling patients and telling them their pre- and post-surgery care instructions, which was pretty cool for me. I got to play nurse every day. I felt like I'd been studying something entirely different throughout my entire career at Wittenberg. People frequently asked me if I was a nursing student or if I was pre-med. Always surprised when I said I was a communication major with a psychology minor in my scrubs every day. But it was a really great experience. I learned a lot about having confidence in my work. I was the youngest person who worked for the company by far, probably by about 30 years. So at first it was a little intimidating because I was doing such important work regarding patients and their payment information that I would often be a little nervous about submitting this to my bosses, but by the end of the summer I was so confident in my work that I was never afraid to point out errors in my coworkers' work, because I knew that that would result in error on the patient's payment. So I learned that no matter what your age is, you're always able to be confident in your work.
So I had the opportunity to have an internship in Cincinnati at Momentum Marketing Group. I got the internship by finding it on internships.com. Just a heads up to people that are going to be in cable next semester, don't wait till the last second to try and find an internship. This is very stressful. A lot of us were stressing out about it. I was lucky to find it. But like Kelsey said, networking, I went through a lot of different platforms and mediums to find a job, internship, and I was found on internships.com, so it's a good tool. But anyways, so I traveled to various, what am I trying to say? I'm just going to say, yeah, thank you. Retail places like around Cincinnati, like Kroger's, Costco's, Meijer, and what I did was promote various products. They had like 23 campaigns. I was on one called Quick Whisk and Body Comfort, and I just sold people. I did shows where I kind of was on the PA, was come over and check out this new product. Of course, I told them what I was doing and wasn't trying to deceive them. I didn't think that was right. But anyways, I sold them on the benefits of the products. They were very cool products. And also, I was able to go in and maintain and build positive relationships with staff and employees, which was very fun for me, getting around talking to people all day. And then also, I got to a leadership position in 4 weeks, which was very exciting. And at that position, I started mentoring, training, coaching others, teaching them the skills that I developed. And I also gained some interview experience as well on site at the retailers. And it was intimidating at times because I would get older people, women 30 years of age with a couple children. And here I am, they're asking me what are my career goals, and I'm saying I'm going to go back to college next and here in a couple months. But anyways, some takeaways from my internship. Oh, sorry, I'm blanking for a moment. But yeah, I'm blanking. I'm going to go ahead and move on.
Alright, so, excuse me. I work for Global Gauge Corporation this summer. They're located in Moraine. And this was part of the Ohio Export Internship Program with Ohio State and Fisher School of Business. And I got this internship because Dr. Elwell recommended me to apply for it, and I ended up getting the job and was part of the whole program throughout the semester. What I did for them was some marketing research on Brazil, Mexico, and South Korea. And at the end, I presented them with some duties, taxes, and other financial information on how they would export their products for these 3 countries. I also did some competitor research, and once I was pretty much done with my work, I had a couple of weeks left, so I did some inventory, and they were just kind of passing me around, seeing what they needed help with, so just so I could get my last week's done. And what I learned was that since it was a really small company, I was just sitting at the front desk pretty much in a little cubicle, and I barely got to see anyone, couldn't talk to anyone really. It was just me and the receptionist, and I couldn't even see her. So I learned that I really need some contact with other people in order to get it going, to stay awake during work, because just by yourself doing research work every day just can be very.
So my internship was at the Courtyard Marriott here in Springfield, Ohio, who I got to work with my very good friend and fraternity brother, Chris Butler, who I was living with actually over the summer. So we lived together and worked together. We got pretty close. But what we did was we spent 2 weeks in every department of the hotel, from banquets to front desk to housekeeping to even sales and even general management. And we had to learn the ins and outs of the hotel. And what I took away is that the hotel industry is the business for me. I love the hotel business. I actually was blessed to be hired on at the front desk after the internship. I was like, hey, I would love to work here. And it is the first step to hopefully a long and successful career.
Okay, so my summer experience, I kind of had 2. My first one was working with Cake and Whiskey magazine, where I was a social media intern. And Cake and Whiskey is not a food magazine as you would think, which I thought originally. It is a magazine about women in business and kind of balancing the 2 sides of like the sweet side of life and like kind of the business side of life. So I thought it was really interesting. I loved their cause, and I just worked with the executive staff to promote their next issue. I worked especially with their Pinterest profile and linking that with the CEO's blog that she was creating. And so I had a lot of fun with that. And it's a very small company where, like I said, I was working with the CEO. And I had a lot of fun, but I also think that a lot more structure really benefits me. So even though it was small and kind of like a loose structure, I really think I would benefit for a little bit more structure, maybe a more corporate setting. And I actually found that internship from the Career Services Facebook page. So I saw the posting and then I sent my resume to the contact and they got back to me the next day. Oh, excuse me, the next day, which was really cool. And so I really suggest utilizing that resource because it's really useful. And then my second internship briefly was with the Springfield Art Museum, where I was a graphic design intern. I just did a few promotional items for them to advertise their sculpture trail, which they wanted to get more people going to. So I had a lot of fun with both, and I just learned that maybe a more structured experience would benefit me more.
So I stayed at Wittenberg for my internship. I got to work in the Office of University Communications, and I helped them with their social media pages for Esri the Tiger, which is our mascot. And I also got to film, direct, and write 3 short videos for the athletics website. So I got to do a lot of creative things, and I realized that I really want to work doing something creative, and I got to do something different every day, so I was really excited to go to work every day.
Over the summer, I worked at Big Bang Detroit, which is a small production company, obviously in downtown Detroit. And so what I did for them was a lot of writing mostly, and what they were working on over the summer was this TV show that focused on small entrepreneurial startup companies that were successful. And the main point of that TV show was to teach other people how to be successful with startup companies. And so what I did was I did a lot of industry, like specific research on the various things. So anywhere between restaurants to handbags to you name it. I did research on it and had to find facts, anything that people might want to see and find interesting about that industry. So that was definitely a fun experience. And I did a few other things as well. I was a production assistant for some of the commercials that they did. We did a few campaign commercials for Michigan's governor, which is pretty cool. And I also just kind of got to see the on-set type stuff, which was a lot of fun. For me, I think what I learned from this was to not overthink what I'm doing. When you're in school here, obviously, you get very specific instructions, and you get a few weeks to do something. For me, I would walk in, and my boss would be like, okay, here's this, have it something by lunch. And I was like, okay, cool, I'm not really sure, but I guess I'll just go for it, you know. So I think it was definitely, you know, helpful for me to learn how not to overthink things and get myself kind of worked up over some stuff. So that was definitely helpful to learn for me.
So my internship over the summer was back home in Hanoi, Vietnam, and I got it through a personal connection at my intern at Hanoi Hotel, which was a serious hotel in the capital of Vietnam. So I had like a big expectation out of the hotel because as I was growing up, I walked by this hotel every day as I was going to high school. So I interned there at the front desk, and I saw a lot of problems with them. They overstaffed themselves way too much. They wasn't really doing their job. They wasn't really trying to make a connection with the guests. So I actually quit after a week because I was constantly comparing my experience at Hanoi Hotel with my past internship at the Courtyard by Marriott. And actually, the Courtyard gave me a much better experience. So what I learned out of the very short 1-week internship was that even though I'm only a college student, I'm gonna be like an entry-level employee next May, but I really have the options. I